Something very unusual just happened in Canada. A province quietly shut down its immigration system for several days, not because of a crisis, but because they were rebuilding the entire system from the inside. And when the system came back online, everything had changed. Nova Scotia, one of Canada's fastest-growing immigration provinces, has now reduced its immigration pathways from 10 streams to just 4. 10 to 4. Now, when governments simplify immigration like this, it usually means one thing. They are focusing on specific workers. And everyone else? Well, the path becomes harder. So today I want us to slow down and really understand what Nova Scotia just did in 2026. Because this change might look small on the surface, but it tells us something very important about the future of Canadian immigration. First, we need to understand why Nova Scotia did this in the first place. Because the old system, it was becoming a problem. For many years, Nova Scotia had about 10 different immigration streams. Each stream had different rules, different forms, different eligibility requirements, different processing systems. For example, there were programs for international graduates, entrepreneurs, skilled workers, physicians, in-demand occupations, express entry candidates. On paper, this looked good. But in reality, it became too complicated. Applicants were confused. Employers were confused. Even immigration officers were dealing with too many pathways at once. And at the same time, the number of people wanting to move to Nova Scotia kept rising. Thousands of applications. But the province only receives a limited number of nomination spots from the federal government every year. So the system became slow. Files started piling up. And that is when the province made a decision. Instead of fixing 10 streams, they would rebuild the entire structure. And this is why something unusual happened in February 2026. The province temporarily closed the Nova Scotia Nominee Program application portal while they upgraded the system. From February 13 to February 18th, the entire immigration portal was unavailable. Anyone with unfinished applications had to submit before the deadline. Otherwise, the file would disappear. That alone tells you something important. This was not a small update. This was a complete redesign of how the province selects immigrants. And when the portal reopened, the immigration system looked very different. As of February 18, 2026, Nova Scotia officially consolidated its immigration streams from 10 to just 4 pathways under the Nova Scotia Nominee Program. These new main streams are Nova Scotia Graduate, Skilled Worker Entrepreneur, Nova Scotia Express Entry. Instead of dozens of overlapping categories, the province created a simpler structure that focuses on labor shortages. But here's the key point many people are missing. Even though there are 4 main streams, the real priority sectors remain very clear. The province is mainly targeting workers in critical industries. The government has been very clear about where the biggest shortages are. Healthcare, construction, manufacturing, skilled trades. These sectors are experiencing serious worker shortages across the province. And Nova Scotia's population is aging quickly, which means hospitals need nurses. Construction companies need tradespeople. Factories need skilled technicians. Immigration is now being used as a direct tool to solve these shortages. Another major change happened before the stream reform. In November 2025, Nova Scotia moved its immigration system to an expression of interest pool. This works very similar to express entry. Instead of submitting a full application immediately, you first submit a profile. Your profile then sits in a pool, and the province selects candidates based on its labor needs. So even if you qualify, you might not be selected immediately. Only candidates who match Nova Scotia's priorities receive invitations, and this is where things become very interesting. This reform is not just about simplifying paperwork. It is about control. Nova Scotia wants to choose immigrants who can enter the workforce quickly, people who can fill jobs immediately, people who already have experience in sectors the province urgently needs. In other words, the province is becoming more strategic about immigration. So what does this actually mean for people planning to immigrate to Canada? Let me be very honest here. This reform sends a very clear signal. Canada is slowly moving away from broad immigration programs towards targeted immigration. In the past, many people applied through general programs, sometimes without a job offer, sometimes without a clear connection to the province. But today, provinces are asking a different question. Not just, do you want to move here? But, can you help our economy immediately? Imagine 2 applicants. One is a general office worker. The other is a construction electrician. Which one do you think Nova Scotia will prioritize? The electrician. Because housing construction is one of the biggest problems in Canada today. So immigration is now being used to solve economic problems directly. If you are planning to immigrate through a provincial nominee program, this reform should teach you something very important. Immigration strategies must change. The days of applying randomly to many programs are slowly disappearing. Today's success depends on matching labor shortages. Healthcare, trades, engineering, manufacturing. These sectors are becoming the new immigration highways. And Nova Scotia is probably not the last province to do this. Other provinces are watching closely. If this system works, we may see similar reforms across Canada, which means the future of immigration might be simpler on paper, but much more selective in reality. So if Canada is your goal, you need to understand something. The rules are changing, not overnight, but slowly, and the people who succeed will be the ones who adapt early. If you want, in my next video, I will explain which Canadian provinces are still the easiest pathways for PR in 2026. Because the truth is, some provinces are becoming easier, and some are quietly becoming much harder. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.